June 9th, 2023. This is the S&P 500 E-Futures Mini on the NinjaTrader 8 platform on the 2000 tick chart. Go down to the descriptions below and you can see where I saw setups as well as where I took my trades. Just a quick disclaimer, this is just purely for entertainment purposes only and mainly actually for myself to archive my trades. This is not financial advice, any kind of me teaching anybody anything. So just be aware trading futures is risky. You can actually lose more money than you put in. So I'm just going to get started now. There weren't too many trades that I found today. I've been working on my patience and trying to find really clean setups. So there were some setups that I saw, but I didn't mark them on purpose because I knew they weren't good setups. And there might have been some other setups that I missed, but the ones I did find, I marked it up. And I took only one trade today. This is what the markets look like. It was kind of in a big choppy range. And if you notice, there wasn't any economic data that came out today, but this is very close to the next option rollover. So the June contracts are going to expire next Friday. So there was a lot of volume on the current June contract, but there was also equally a good number of volume on the September contracts, which will start trading when these expire. However, there are traders out there that jump on them and trade them early. So next week, you're probably going to start seeing a shift. There's going to be a drop in volume and volatility on these June 2023 contracts on the ES, and it's probably going to start picking up a lot more on the September contracts. So on days like this, it can be a little bit hard to read. I've just kind of noticed in the past that on these transition days before it rolls over in the next week, sometimes the trading can be a little sparse. It was kind of that way today. I didn't find too many setups, and it was a little unfortunate because a lot of the price action looked like if you were able to get on somehow on a good clean setup, then you could have rode it up and got probably a pretty decent runner. So I'm going to go through the trades pretty quickly. There weren't too many, or at least too many that I could find. And so this is the pre-market lows, and the pre-market high is actually right here, and then it opens. The pre-market high actually coincidentally makes the midline of the total trading range, because this looked like a double top after a while, and I drew it, and it kind of created the midline right here, which may kind of been respected, but not too much. So even though it was a large trading range, and then later kind of a sub trading range here, it mostly just played a bunch of choppy swings. So the first setup that I saw is actually also the first trade that I saw. It was after the open. Yes, there was a new high made here. It's a first entry long, and a second entry long technically made right here, but it's not a very clean second entry. So I waited for this to clear itself out. Now, there was kind of a choppy congestion trading range right about here, but I didn't think it was really worth looking for any kind of good clean setup because the total range of this was like 43.08 to about 43.05 and 50. So it's about a 2.5 point trading range. And to try to scalp anything in here, you're really pushing your luck because, if you even took it at the middle, you really only have about 1.5 points to get yourself out of the trade. So I didn't take anything here. But then this is the first trade that I saw. I saw a new high here, first entry long, second entry long. So when I saw the second entry long, this isn't a very good signal bar. However, it is bouncing off the EMA, and it may look like it made two clear legs down, one leg down, push up, a second leg down, and all the previous touches of the EMA resulted in a bounce, and I thought there was enough room to the recent high, so I took it on the engulfing. And in hindsight, I think this was actually a risky trade. It wasn't as clean as I thought. However, at one time, I did have a trend channel kind of drawn slightly different because I thought maybe if I was trying to connect this here, I thought I potentially had a bounce of some kind here. But, in hindsight, this wasn't really a valid channel. But at the time, I was a little bit, didn't see the larger picture. So I took the trade right where the blue arrow is on the engulfing, one tick above, and I was able to get out rather quickly. Now, a high or low confirmation does set up for the second entry long here, but after I took this trade, I was pretty happy. It came down. This might have been actually a better entry because it is confirming the second entry long. The only one downside of this trade for the higher low is it's getting close to the top of this potential trading range, even though the EMA is holding. So definitely a little bit riskier trade here. So then I just wait and watch. You do have like you could count it as a double top or a new high here. It's a first entry long, second entry long. Now the second entry long, I saw it, I was debating because it broke below and it came back up. And as I mentioned previously, the EMA was pretty much holding prices pretty well. And this is the first break, closed outside and it came back in. Had this red bar actually closed right at the EMA, even if it had a tick to the low, but it closed above, I think I would have treated it with a little more confidence to take one entry above here and let it flash up. But since it closed below and it came back, it made kind of a stop in the middle of this big bar, not necessarily inside bar, but it did like trap more shorts and then it goes back up. I wasn't sure what I was looking at, so I left it alone. The prices continue. Now you'll notice that I actually broke this into two trend lines, one touch, two touch, three touch. So it was a pretty good confirmation if this is a good support. And I only had really one touch up here, so it wasn't quite clear that this was in trading range. But then this one was actually pretty clear because I drew it from here. You get a couple of touches and a fourth touch. And you also get three good touches up here. So this is a pretty clean trading range. Unfortunately, I didn't see any setups that I felt confident in taking because you get a new high here, you only get a first entry long. Also a new high here, and you get a first entry long. And if you try to look at the other way as a new low, you get a first entry short, second entry short. Second entry short, this is technically your signal bar, this green one. This is not a very good signal bar. Plus you're going to be counter trend trading to the overall bullish bias that the market's telling you just be looking to go long. But looking to go long, I didn't see a clean setup. Now, there's all new high here, and you only get a first entry long here. So no good setups. I just kind of sit out of my hands. So new high, first entry long, pulls back, second entry long. It's bag signal bar, so I leave it alone. There's a new low here, first entry short, but then you group this together as just a localized low. There's actually a first entry short, second entry short. It's actually more clean. One leg up, pull back, second leg up. But this is a pretty bad signal bar. It's too bullish. I mean, it just closed and opened. Close and open are also where the highs and lows are. So it's hard to determine that this is a good place to short because it could easily just move back up. Now, after this came down, it's still closed above the EMA, and then this one doesn't give you much more confidence either. So it tells you it told me that I just kind of sit on my hands and wait. Prices continue moving down. I do see a new low here, first entry short, second entry short, and I thought I saw some kind of support here. I also saw a new high here, first entry long, second entry long. Now the second entry long, I wasn't sure in real time what I was looking at. I mean, I knew what I was looking at, but I wasn't sure if it was a good enough trade because this opens and closes at the very top. So there was a push down, there was some struggle, and then it finally closed right where it opened. So in hindsight, this is a good bullish bar. And it does confirm once, twice, three times, and it's off of the key entry point, which is the EMA. So I didn't take it at the time because I wasn't sure, but then when this flashed up, I felt it was too late to try to take a trade up here because it's already hitting the localized high. It could be considered triple test, 1, 2, 3. So I certainly didn't want to go long into these highs. And nothing says it couldn't come back down because the localized price action right now was going 2 legs down. So it broke out of this, made 1 leg down, actually made 1 push up, tried to make a new high, failed, came back down, made a second attempt, but it's also 1 big leg, pulls up, and a second big leg. So after it came down, it made 1 push up, pulls back, second push up, part of 1 big leg, and it made 1 push down, push up, and this one is a little bit not as clean. So making a second push up to hit this localized high, yes, it's a potential trade there, but I wasn't 100% sure, so I kind of just sat there. Had this actually closed a little bit more bullish with a little more meat, then I would have taken it. Or if this green candle actually didn't flash up so high, because it makes me feel like if I took it up here, there's not much room left. If it actually kind of closed down here, then I feel more confident that the EMA is holding and there's enough room to get out before this localized high was reached. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, so I had to just kind of sit there. Prices go up. This is technically a new high, first entry long. That's all you get. Then the prices continue moving down. Makes a new low. Well, not a new low, but the more recent low, because the new low is down here, but localized low. And we come up upon a trade that I think was actually worth an entry. So it's a new low. It just kind of chops around in this trading range. It breaks out, and whether you drew it right here like I did or slightly higher, it doesn't really matter. you are in a trading range. Looks kind of like this. I saw a new high here. First entry long, pulls back. It's a second entry long. Now at the time, this second entry long candle kind of reminded me of something like this. It's not exactly the same setup, but it's reminding me something of this. And I thought, okay, well, it's a second entry long here. This confirms a second entry long, but overall bias looks like it's pushed up and it's coming back down, hits the midline. It's kind of dancing around the midline. So I'm wondering if the next candle goes up, it might touch the top, but it could also be a failed second entry long. It's a good signal bar for the second entry long. This one comes down, it closes below the EMA, so I like that. I thought, okay, this is a decent signal bar for the failure. It broke below the EMA. It did break this shortened trend channel. So this big trend channel came down. It broke outside. It's chopping sideways. And I'm thinking it's going to make another leg down to match this big one. But in the localized smaller region, it made one push up. So there's a correction. It broke out, made one push up, failed, tried to do a second time, and it already reached the high, came down. So I saw this as first leg up, second leg up, failure. I also thought maybe it's one leg up, pull back, second leg up, and it's chopping around. And if it fails, then I would put my entry one tick below here. And I didn't jump on this trade. When it flashed down, I thought, oh, okay, definitely it's a fail second entry, long. There's enough room to the EMA. If I was going to put my entry, it'd be below the original signal bar right here. Maybe it'll come back and pick me up. It doesn't. It just kept going. And prices continue moving down, kind of chopping around. I do see a new low here. First entry short, second entry short. Second entry short is above the EMA, even though it's in a trading range. So I wasn't really sure that this is going to fail because it also made one leg up, pulls back. So I'm thinking it could make a second leg up. So here, it doesn't make a second entry short yet. Now here's a second entry short, but I'm thinking it's a possibility it could move back up. So push down once, pulls back, we can make a second leg up. But it could also be this uptrend has played out because this is a shortened trend channel here. It broke outside, made an attempt, made a new extreme already. So it could actually come back down. And that's exactly what it does. So I saw this, but I didn't act quickly enough to jump on this trade. So I just kind of label it here. This is a second entry short off of this signal bar. Technically, it's off of this signal bar right here because this is still on its way up. And this is the first time it breaks below, closed below the EMA. So this is a potential trade right here. Prices continue moving down. It's respecting the bottom here now. So there's like a double bottom. But this time it breaks through. Saw one clean leg down, push up, a second leg down. Now it seems like it's reversing. It moves up. I saw a localized high. Didn't quite make the measured move and touch the other side. But I saw this new high, first entry long, comes back down. It's potentially forming a second entry long. This candle is the inside of this one, so it's a little bit hard to decide which way it's going to go just yet. So this is a second entry long confirmed. So I didn't take this trade, but the trade would have been, I mean, it's kind of close to the midline here, but it broke out of this ascending shortened trend channel. It's the first break. So you think it wants to test the high. So this could be the first leg to come up and test the high. So this might have been a trade here. Just take one entry, one tick above, say, this signal bar, even though this signal bar isn't the best. It's kind of a little bit too neutral for me. Looks like if I did put in my entry, I get filled right here. And then this would have completed it and then makes the completion of this measured move. Not only does that happen, it goes out to be a failed breakout now, but it doesn't. It just keeps going. It looks like it consolidates in the second trading range, and I don't really see any good second entries. You do get a triple test here, but try to go short right into the EMA. It felt a little risky, almost like counter trend trading. Then it breaks out, chops through. This is a failed breakout, but there's no other setup here to help confirm it. I don't want to just take a failed breakout, especially when it's a little indecisive on whether the overall market's bullish anymore or bearish. It's kind of a little bit choppy. If this setup was actually up here and the breakout was at the bottom, I feel more confident going long because the overall bias would have been telling you it's still going strong to the long side. But this one is a little bit harder to tell. It's a failed breakout of this trading range. Back into range, yes, but it's also counter trend. So in real time, you don't know that. Plus, you don't really have another setup. It's just a failed breakout. If it was coupled with a second entry short, They give you more confidence. Plus, these bars are pretty neutral, doji-ish. Price continue moving down. It bounces. I still don't see any good setups that I like. It's getting kind of close to the end of the day. Well, not yet, but I don't see any setups yet, any further setups. I draw this as a potential resistance, and I draw this as a potential support. I didn't like the support down here as nicely because it is a little bit choppy. It's kind of breaking through. And I did play with it at various times, kind of bring it down and make sure it only touches here, but then it was leaving these guys up in the air. So I then dragged it up to try to get more touches down here, but then I'd have an early overshoot down here and then a second one. So it wasn't firm that this is a reliable line to take a long off of if I saw a bounce. But this top resistance was becoming more reliable as an actual resistance. So any trades up here, if I wanted to go short, I would feel more confident if the setup was correct. But unfortunately, it's getting very close to the end of the day. And so I just didn't take any more trades after that. So volatility was a little bit funky today. I only took one trade. I didn't see too many setups. So I know next week, I think most traders or most of the volume will shift over to the September 23rd, September 2023 contracts, and then volume and volatility is going to slowly die out on these June contracts all the way until Friday. So most likely on Monday, everybody should probably start trading on the September one. So hopefully that was helpful.